These are the Ozlo Sleepbuds 2, and they fix 2 of the 3 biggest issues I had with Ozlo's original Sleepbuds, as well as adding new features like sleep tracking and a smart case with environmental sensors. They're still not perfect. Few things in life are, but I do think if you're someone who sleeps better while listening to ambient soundscapes, music, audiobooks, or other media, the Ozlo Sleepbuds 2 could be a fantastic option for you. So today we're going to be talking about what's new with the Ozlo Sleepbuds 2 compared to the original Ozlo Sleepbuds, who I think should and shouldn't consider buying them, and the one feature still missing that could be a deal breaker for some people. Now, full disclosure, Ozlo did send me the Sleepbuds 2 to test a few weeks ahead of launch, so this video is sponsored, but they asked me for an honest review, so that's exactly what you're gonna get. And before we talk about the cons of this product, I'd like to start things off on a positive note, because there's a reason Ozlo Sleepbuds are as popular as they are. They do something that no mainstream earbud can do. And look, I love my AirPod Pros. I use them almost every day, but they suck to sleep with. They hurt my little ear holes when I sleep on my side. They fall out and get lost in the bed, and the battery never seems to make it through a full night. Those are all problems that the Ozlo Sleepbuds directly solve. They have the lowest profile of any earbuds I've ever seen, so they fit flush with my ear and don't stick out or push against my pillow like my AirPods do, which makes them super comfortable, and I don't wake up feeling like I just got the world's most aggressive wet willy. The ear tips come in 4 different sizes with these comfortable little wing tips that push in to hold the Sleepbuds in place, so I don't need to search through my bed sheets trying to find them in the morning. And the battery now lasts up to 14 hours, so as long as I keep them charging in their case during the day, I never need to worry about them dying on me. The Ozlo app itself also has a really fantastic library of masking sounds and soundscapes, intuitive sleep detection features, and sleep tracking to help you improve sleep hygiene over time. But we'll get into all that later. For now, in case the Ozlo Sleepbuds 2 are already sounding like a good fit for you, I'll drop an affiliate link down in the description that I'll keep updated with the current best deal, and using that link will help support the channel at no extra cost to you, which I always appreciate. But don't whip out your credit card just yet, because it's not all sunshine and rainbows. The Sleepbuds 2 are not going to be for everyone, and they do have some limitations worth knowing about before you buy. However, the good news is Ozlo did fix 2 of the 3 biggest complaints I had about the previous version in my original review of the first Ozlo Sleepbuds. The biggest problem people had about the original Ozlo Sleepbuds was with connectivity issues, and this was something I actually complained about myself in my original Ozlo Sleepbuds 1 review. But sometimes when I open the app itself, it tries to make me sort of slide the case open with the buds inside to reconnect the Sleepbuds, and I do find this to be a kind of minor but annoying inconvenience. Fortunately, with the Sleepbuds 2, now you can just open the case and they connect automatically each time without issue. No sliding the case open and closed, staring at the app, waiting for it to reconnect. After a few weeks of testing, I'm genuinely comfortable saying that the connectivity issues are now solved with the Sleepbuds 2. They are way better, which makes it way easier for me to recommend them to family and friends. Fix number 2 is the battery situation, which actually got better in 2 ways, one obvious, one kind of sneaky. The obvious one is the originals were rated at up to 10 hours per charge, which was usually enough to get me through the night, but sometimes if I took a while to fall asleep, they weren't. The Sleepbuds 2 are now rated up to 14 hours, which is way better. So even on my worst, most restless nights, I've never come close to running them dry. And honestly, sometimes I can even get 2 nights in a row of using them at like 45% volume without putting them in the case to charge. Plus, in my experience, the case can actually charge the Sleepbuds about 2 or 3 times before the case itself needs to be recharged, which I'd probably recommend just keeping the case charging on your nightstand, but this extra battery life is great for when you're traveling. Now the sneaky fix. One issue with the original Sleepbuds is that for some people, they would just slowly drain while just sitting in the case. So sometimes people would grab the buds they thought were charged, and it turned out that one was actually low on battery. This happened to me too, weirdly enough, only with one of my Sleepbuds, but this new case keeps them topped off, so when you pick them up, they should now be at full charge every time. Then there's a fix I didn't even ask for, which is the sound. Now, these still wouldn't be my first choice for listening to music at the gym. They're really not meant for that. But Ozlo did redesign the entire audio system in these, so the sound is clearer at low volume, and there is now different sound modes for improved audio across different use cases. Previously, I was using my original Sleepbuds at around 60 to 75% volume to drown out background noise, but with the Sleepbuds 2, I usually stick to around 45% because honestly, that's been enough for me and it's a lot gentler on my ears. At 45% on the new version, I can have my girlfriend in bed right next to me trying to tell me about her day at work, and all I can hear is a distant murmur. Any louder than that and she is gone, which is just... Now, it's important to note that this is not active noise cancellation, but we'll get into that later. But Ozlo didn't just fix old problems with the Sleepbuds 2, they've also brought some new features that can actually add a ton of value for some people, depending on how you plan to use them. Starting with a new feature Ozlo started testing last year.
But it looks like that particular feature is still in closed beta, so I have no way of knowing how accurate it'll actually be. Of course, with my luck, I'm sure they'll release that update shortly after I post this review, so drop a comment below if it comes out soon, and I'll let you know what I think about the sleep tracking once I've had a chance to test it.
Well, sleep tracking is now out of beta and fully functional with the Ozlo Sleepbuds 2. Here's how it works. The Ozlo Sleepbuds 2 track your sleep stages, duration, consistency, and efficiency, and the case, which now has its own sensors, tracks environmental factors in your room, so noise, light, temperature. Combined, the Ozlo app uses this information to build a picture of your sleep patterns over time, like when you fell asleep, when you woke up, and what in your environment might be interrupting your sleep. Now, is this as accurate or seamless as a smart ring or smartwatch? Personally, I don't think so. Ozlo is still relatively new to the sleep tracking game, so they don't have quite the depth of data for their tracking algorithms that brands like Whoop or Apple do. However, most users don't really need to know exactly how much time they spent in each sleep stage and when. If you're not deeply concerned with how many minutes you spent in REM versus deep sleep, and you mostly just want to improve your sleep habits by checking in from time to time to see how consistent you've been, or how noisy, hot, or bright sleep environments could be affecting your sleep, I think Ozlo's got you covered there. And better yet, you don't need to spend money on a monthly subscription or sleep with a bulky smartwatch on your wrist to get that data from Ozlo. But let's back up a minute and take a look at the rest of the Ozlo app, because they've actually improved it quite a bit since my last review of the original Sleepbuds. The app is still very clean and simple. For the sleep sounds themselves, they're broken into categories like masking tracks, soundscapes, and nocturnes, and they're all genuinely good, high-quality, seamless loops of ambient sounds like rain, storms, trains, pretty much anything you might find soothing. I think I counted something like 55 different tracks, which is way more than the 20-something I counted during my original Sleepbuds review just 8 months ago. And that's a huge green flag for me because other sleep devices I've reviewed on the channel, like the Hatch Restore, which I also like, well, they often gatekeep their updated tracks behind subscription paywalls, which I find absolutely infuriating, but I digress. There are also now 5 different sleep modes controlling how audio behaves through the night. So you can have sounds kick in on a timer, when your streaming content ends, or even when the buds sense that you've fallen asleep, which is pretty cool. But honestly, I just use the simple mode. This is what makes the most sense for me and probably most people with straightforward use cases. In this mode, the sound starts immediately, Bluetooth radio is shut off 10 minutes later, and you're done. Of course, those other modes are there if your routine is more complicated than mine. Like, say if you wanted to fall asleep listening to a podcast or audiobook and have it pause or activate your sleep sounds after a set amount of time or once you've fallen asleep. And then one more small thing that's actually kind of a big flex is the case has a button now. So you can press it to start or stop your sleep sound, or you can slap it to snooze. Well, don't slap it, but push it to snooze your alarm without needing to like go into the Ozlo app and all that. Which actually makes Ozlo the perfect gift for anyone who has a partner that wakes up for work earlier than they do, since no one wants to wake up to an alarm that's not meant for them. Honestly, as I think about it out loud, this is probably going to become a gift for my girlfriend for that exact reason. I need my beauty rest. Now, one genuine con that remains present with the new Ozlo Sleepbuds 2 are the upload speeds. Because the buds themselves are so small, the trade-off is that they can only store about 10 sleep sounds and 3 alarms locally. And when you want to swap those out or sync your sleep data, the buds need to be sitting in the case and the transfer takes a minute or two. It's not the end of the world, but if you're impatient like I am, it's not ideal either. Here's why it works that way though. The buds talk to the case over Bluetooth Low Energy, which is the technology that lets these weigh 1.6 grams and still run 14 hours. The downside is that BLE moves data through a straw. Personally, to keep the sleep buds this small and the battery lasting as long as it does, it's a trade-off I'm willing to accept, but it is worth knowing about. On the positive side, you probably won't actually be swapping out soundscapes and alarm sounds every single night. Most people will probably try a bunch out with the in-app preview feature, choose the ones they like, and stick with those for a while. Now, slow uploads are an annoyance, but they are not the big missing feature I teased at the start of this video. So let's talk about my biggest personal gripe with the Ozlo Sleepbuds 2, then I'll let you know exactly who I think should and shouldn't buy them. In my original Ozlo Sleepbuds review, I listed this missing feature among my biggest complaints.
And third, and this is the big one, no active noise cancellation.
And unfortunately, active noise cancellation is still missing from the Sleepbuds 2. What they use instead is passive noise isolation, which is basically the physical seal of the tips in your ears combined with those masking sounds layered on top. Now, in my first review, I guessed that this was an engineering trade-off, and after everything we've covered today, I'm even more convinced that I was right about that because active noise cancellation needs microphones, processing chips, and a lot more power. This is why noise-canceling earbuds, like the Apple AirPods, are usually twice the size, 3 times the weight, and have less than half the battery life. So as much as I love active noise cancellation, it's a trade-off I understand. And honestly, I haven't missed it, since the products that do currently offer that feature will always be a bit bigger, a bit less comfortable, and have a weaker battery life. And for what it's worth, even without the active noise cancellation, the Sleepbuds 2 have been working great blocking out sound for me. Over the past few weeks, I've used them while crashing on my sister's couch in New York City. I've used them to tune out my noisy upstairs neighbors stomping around at 2 a.m. And I've used them to drown out the sound of early morning leaf blowers outside my condo. They're solid, and I know I wouldn't be able to sleep this well with my AirPods in. Now, with all that said, let's talk about exactly who I think should and shouldn't buy the Ozlo Sleepbuds 2. And I thought really hard about this. But as a reminder, if you decide you do want to buy the Ozlo Sleepbuds 2, I'll drop an affiliate link down in the description below that I'll keep updated with the best deal on the internet, and I really appreciate you using it. So, I think the Ozlo Sleepbuds 2 are probably the most comfortable option on the market right now for anyone who knows they prefer to fall asleep listening to something. Whether that something is music, ambient sound, soundscapes, audiobooks, podcasts, whatever. But also, in my opinion, they go from being a nice to have to a need to have if you have a partner who doesn't share your love for falling asleep while listening to that sort of media, or who doesn't wake up at the same time as you and want to hear your alarm in the morning, or vice versa. I think they also make sense for people who are dealing with less than ideal sleep environments. So if you've got background noises to compete with, like noisy neighbors, barking dogs, or power tools, these actually do a really good job of muffling those sounds and drowning them out, even at like the lower volume settings, if I'm being honest. Personally, I also like them for the opposite use case. When I sleep at my girlfriend's place and it is so quiet that I can actually hear myself breathe, it's actually just a little bit less anxiety inducing for me to hear a nice little rainstorm or something. Just gets me out of my head so I can fall asleep. Finally, even if those use cases don't resonate with you, I also think the Ozlo Sleepbuds 2 are amazing for anyone who travels often, because I love my AirPods, but they do not make it through a full international flight. So I like to watch movies with my AirPods and then let them charge while taking a nap and listening to soundscapes on my 14-hour battery life Sleepbuds. Plus, thanks to the better fit from their little wingtips, I don't need to worry about the Sleepbuds falling out and getting lost on the plane. And believe me, I was a flight attendant. That happens all the time with AirPods. If all that sounds good to you, then I can feel comfortable and confident recommending the Ozlo Sleepbuds to you. Links down in the description. But I do not think everyone should buy them. If you know you absolutely need active noise cancellation, this isn't for you. drop a comment down below. Maybe I can help you find something else. If you're looking for an all-in-one earbud, not just for sleep, but also for listening to music at the gym, taking work calls, etc., again, this isn't for you. This is very much a specialist product. It's designed for sleep and amazing for sleep, but it's just meh for casually listening to music throughout the day. If you just want silence and nothing else, save your money, try a pair of cheap, regular earplugs first. If they don't work, maybe revisit this review, but don't spend money you don't need to. And if you already sleep like a rock every night because you've got perfect quiet neighbors and no partner waking you up at 6 a.m., the rest of us are jealous, but obviously you don't need these. But if you got some more time to kill and want to hang out with me a little bit longer, I'd love to show you another one of my favorite products that I've reviewed that has been absolutely fantastic for helping me to fall asleep fast and sleep well throughout the night. You can check that one out right here. Otherwise, you can help me out by clicking that like button, subscribing, or dropping a comment down below.